Hello class, welcome to our first video on reviewing extra material. So before I start with this, I want to show you something on our website. So I added a new section over here for extra, where I'm going to be putting review stuff and extra explanation on certain topics. They are going to be on demand. So if you need an extra explanation or better examples or whatever else you have requested of me, you're probably going to find the video or an article written over there, or maybe some exercises over there. There is no grade attached to this, and it's 100% volunteer. So if you feel like you need more work, you need more examples to work with, a longer explanation or a review, this will be a great place to go to. Now, before we start working on this, I want to show you something. So in this video, I'm only going to cover basic concepts, file system, FSH and things like that. Then on the following video, we are going to cover a couple of commands and so on. We're going to try to keep the video short and straight to the point so that you can always use it as a reference whenever you need a review. Now, before we start explaining the things, a couple of things I want you to install. So you need to install the Nemo file manager, as we're going to use it for examples here. So we'll open a terminal and just type sudo apt install Nemo, and that should take care of it. I think I typed my password wrong. Okay, and then also ULauncher, right? It's a nice launcher application that I use all the time to launch programs, and I figure it might be good for you to have it. If you want to read more about ULauncher, just search it online. I think their website should be the first, right here. This is the website for the application. It's a pretty nice launcher because it's very simple. It's very similar to Spotlight in macOS. Now, all you have to do is copy this command over here and paste it in your terminal, and that should get it installed. Enter over there. Enter one more time. We're almost done. Perfect. I'm going to close it, and then I'm going to launch it for the first time. It's going to be found in Accessories and ULauncher. If you're using GNOME 4, just press the search key for searching for applications, and that's it. Now it's going to launch over here on the top. We're going to click here one more time, click on Preferences, and I'm going to enable this at login because I want it to be available right away. And because I'm a fan of dark theme, I'm going to change this to elementary dark, and I'm going to close this. Now, to launch this launcher, all you have to do is press the Control key and the space bar in your computer, and it launches the Spotlight search just like in macOS, but in this case it's ULauncher. Now we're going to search for an application. I'm going to look for the application called Nemo, press enter, and it launches my application. Right, so again, this is just an alternative file manager similar to the default GNOME file manager that we have over here. It's just that I like this one because it's more detailed and it's very good when I have to explain the concepts that we're going to talk about now. The first thing I want to do is that I'm going to change this layout here to this, which is going to show the actual path here. With that said, let's get to work. Now, I'm going to be using the same presentation we use in the class. So, before we start, let's understand one key concept. What is a file system? So, every operating system needs a file system. It's literally how your files are organized and stored in your computer. Windows has a file system, so does Linux, so does macOS. Now, the Unix and Linux use a standard for your file system called the FHS, or hierarchy, or the file hierarchy standard. In this standard, your entire computer is inside a giant folder called the root. Everything is your computer. That's the root right there. It resembles an upside down tree in the way that everything is inside the root, and then subsequent folders have other folders and so on. In Linux and in macOS, right, like Unix, a directory is a synonym for the word folder. It means the exact same thing. Those two terms are interchangeable. Now, there is a couple of other things I want to talk about. The concept of a parent directory and a child or subdirectory. Now, this is better explained graphically, so let's take a look at it. Now, notice here that I have a folder called CIS 106. This folder is the parent folder of pretty much everything that's in here, right? Because all of these folders are inside CIS 106F22, right? So there is a parent and child relationship between these two folders. It's important to keep that in mind. Directory, subdirectory, right? One inside the other, and so on. Why? Because pretty much the entire Linux structure is built that way, where the parent folder of everything in your computer is the root. Okie dokie. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is path name, right? So, a path name is pretty much the address of a file, where your file is located in your computer. That is the path name. Now, an example of this will be this file called song.mp3. The path name of this song is this whole line that you see over here, because this is how this file can be located. There are two types of path names. You have absolute path and relative path. The absolute path is the complete address of the file starting at the root of the file system at the very beginning, ending in the name of the file or folder. A relative path is a path that starts with subdirectory or child directory of your current location. Again, this is easier seen in practice than it is in explanation. So let's take a look at that. Now, the absolute path of CIS 106F22 can be seen over here because it starts at the root. It starts at the root, as you can see over here, and it ends with the name of the folder. If I have a file over here, the absolute path, again, will start at the root and it will end in the name of the file. For example, I'm going to create a file. I'm going to call this test file, right? The absolute path of this file will be all of this and then the name of the file. We can see that by looking at the properties of the file. Look at the location here, as you can see right over here. This absolute path. Now, a relative path does not start at the root. Instead, it starts right over here where I am. So if I want to reach this file over here, lab1, the end, my current directory is this directory over here. I don't need to start at the root. I can simply start with the word labs or with the folder labs. Once we start working with the cd command, we're gonna see how and when this is a better choice to use. Now, okie dokie. So let's take a look at this real quick, right? So if I go all the way up, I go here to the root. As you can see, this is my entire computer. Each and every one of these folders have a meaning. They store in a specific type of files. One of the most important here, well, they are all important, but one that we use a lot is the home directory, right? The home directory is the directory that contains the home of pretty much every user in your computer. If we go inside over here, we're gonna see that right now there is only one user in my computer, therefore there should exist only one home directory. The way I like to think about the home directory is about the street you live in. In the same street where you live, right, in the physical world, there are multiple houses. Each and every one of those houses is a home to somebody. But the street contains all of the houses. So when we talk about the home directory, we are referring to that location where all the other homes exist. When we talk about your home directory, we're talking about your place. Why this is important? As the user of your computer, you have total freedom to play around with your home directory. You can create files there, delete files there, and modify it however you like, because you have total control of your home directory. The other directories that are over here, you have very limited control of, because they are managed and controlled by the root user of your computer. The root user of your computer is like the administrator in Windows. It has total control over your computer and it can do whatever it pleases. Normally, when we are running administrative tasks in our computer, such as installing a program, we need to access or we need to get what is called root permission or sudo privileges to be able to do that task, because you have limited power over what you can do outside of your home directory. Now, let's take a look at that file system here. Okay. The Linux file system is just like an upside down tree. as you can see, everything starts at the root, and from there we have multiple folders, and those folders have other folders, and so on. This visual aid over here contains some of the directories that we have in the root file system. I would like you to use this visual aid to play around with the file system, to move here, to move there, to explore it as you like. For instance, I want to go to local lib. It's located inside user share. So I can open a file manager and go all the way up. And I need to go to, let's put this on the side over here, and let's move this on the side over here. So go to lib, that is located inside local and then user. So we're gonna go to the user folder, which is over here, USR, and then we're gonna go to local, which is right over here. Then we go to lib or lib, and it's right over here. Notice the absolute path of the lib folder right over there on the top. Now let's go to backgrounds. Perfect. So we're gonna go back. I'm at the root. So if I want to go to backgrounds, first I must go to, again, user. So we're going to go to user, then we go to share, and then from here we go to backgrounds, right here, backgrounds. Again, notice the absolute path on the top. I suggest you practice this a little bit, right? You imagine that this little guy is you and place it somewhere over here and try to find that folder graphically on the file manager. This is going to give you a sense of how these files are stored and where these folders are located, and it's going to give you practice with absolute paths. With that said, I will see you in the following video where we're going to start talking about moving in the command line from folder to folder.